Who doesn't know Pradeep? I believe Pradeep, are you on board already?
Yeah,
Awesome.
hi. Yeah,
Nice seeing you, Pradeep, after a long time. How are you doing?
doing pretty consistent, buddy. How are you doing? Is,
Excellent. Glad to see you.
is
I'm
that
doing.
is that your home?
I wish it would be no, but this is the amazing virtual background I have selected to
Oh,
show.
nice. Okay, okay. That's good. This is the amazing virtual background I selected, so that's good too.
That's cool. It didn't work. We tested it. Did not work for me. Uh,
Oh, okay. Hmm.
That's Pradeep for you people. I won't spend a lot of time on introducing him. Most of you know him. He's the guy behind Moolya testing and Apache and all other awesome field and things in Indian testing community that he has done so far. Pradeep's work, his blogs, his debates have had a great impact on how I learn testing in good order. Thank you, Pradeep, and I will let you rock the stage.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think you started off by saying, who doesn't know Pradeep? Pradeep himself doesn't know. It's a self-discovery thing that's happening. I'm going to now share my screen right now and start presenting. I can share the whole desktop. Okay, this is fantastic. So can you all see my screen? Is okay, that's great. Okay, thank you for letting me know about it, Lalit. I'm just going to, fantastic. So I'm just keeping my clock and everything ready so that I understand the time and other stuff. So, you know, the business value of testing. So I've spent years in testing in different roles, from being a tester to a consultant to an independent consultant to to starting a testing solutions and services company to building products and tools in the testing space, and then also exploring testing from inside out and outside in. And I thought I should do a presentation about an outside in perspective, and that's essentially what this talk is going to be. So when I started to think about it, deeper after I gave the title and abstract and all of that stuff, I asked a fundamental question, which is like, is there even a business value for testing, right? And so that's a fundamental question that I had, and I tried to find answers for that. But before that, I want to give you this banana leaf meals analogy, right? So this, if we're getting closer to the lunchtime, at least in India, and this is the kind of lunch a lot of people would love to eat over here. I know this is more South Indian, but I'm sure all the North Indian and other country folks also enjoy this kind of South Indian meals. And I want to tell you that I am not going to be talking about testing the way others are talking about, and everybody here has their own purpose. So today I've decided to be salt. You don't ever go to a place to eat salt, right? But salt is mixed in everything, and it's kind of invisible out there. It's not visible. And when you appreciate food, you're not appreciating the salt. You're appreciating the the combination of all of that stuff. So I am salt. There are amazing people in this conference who are going to give you all other beautiful, very tasty food. And my favorite in all of this is, of course, the curd, which, of course, Ramit will certainly relate it over to. So that's me. And now I'm going to ask you all a question. You are an important person in this world. Is this true or false? I just want you to kind of close your eyes and try to think about it. Are you the most important person in this world? True or false? Okay, let's whatever answer that you came up with. It is true in your personal lives if you're a cheerful and a humane person, and people around you want to be with you, and your family enjoys your presence. Everybody enjoys your presence. But if you are annoying, greedy, and you are always abusive and all of that stuff, nobody thinks you're important. And right, so we are important in our personal lives if we are cheerful and a human person. Our family does not expect much more than this. If we are, there are people with great happiness even in a very, very, very small house that does not have any facilities, and there are people absolutely disappointed in huge bungalows and big mansions and all of that stuff. So that's what family is, and that's why we care so much about the family, that they don't judge us on anything else. It's also true that you are the most important person in business life only if you are adding revenue or profits, plus you're professional, ethical, and humane. Now, if you're not adding revenue or profits, then your value in the business is far low. Is far low, right? And I just want to ask you this question: is your testing adding revenue or profit? Is your testing adding revenue or profit? Okay. Again, I want to give you a second. I want you to think, what is your testing really doing for the business? Now, you might think, oh, I'm not a business person. No, you are a business person. You are a byproduct of business. So if you are not, if you are in organizations that are for profit and you are testing for them, you are testing for revenues, you are testing for profits. But my question to you is your testing adding revenue or profits? What do you think your testing is actually doing? Whatever you're doing, what do you think it is doing? Now, you think you're adding revenues? You think you're adding profits? Really? How do you know that? Have you asked this question? Have you asked this question to people saying that, hey, I found this bug, and does it save $2 million for the company? And if it does save $2 million, how much would you want to be paid? Right? How much would you want to be paid? Right? Or let's say you found a bug which would have prevented the top line to grow, and because of that there were $3 million added. How much would you like to be paid? And how much are you being paid right now? So I think we kind of overestimate who we are and how much value we're bringing to the organization as testers. Now, I'm not saying we're not doing that, but you have to go through this journey with me to be able to get the full picture. Now, I want to give you the pilot and the airplane analogy. I'm sure most of us by now have traveled on an airplane prior to the coronavirus world. And we went there, sat, and we just, the moment we got on, we didn't even want to see the safety instruction. We just wanted to, plug into our headphones, listen to music, or watch a nice, movie that we have actually missed. And then the flight goes on, and the flight lands. Now, you just walk out, as though everybody else did their job. And why I'm giving this analogy is that the airplane is a great example of a fantastic automation, and the pilots are a great example of great human skill. So a great human skill is absolutely needed to guide the greatest automation. So if you have great skilled people with a faulty plane, then that's still going to cause a problem. So now, coming back to this, now you go on a plane, it lands safely, you just walk out as though like everybody did their job, nothing happened, right? Now you're on a plane, and I don't wish this happens, right? You're on a plane, and then the pilot comes on the PA and says, we've had a problem in engine 1, and we have to shut that off, and we are now flying on just engine 2, but we look safe, right? So your heart rate goes right, and then the pilot comes on PA again and says, I'm sorry to say that the engine 2 is also off, and then your heart rate beats to the VO2 max, and it tries to think that, oh my God, all the kind of things you want to say to your family, that you love them and all of that stuff, and then the pilot lands the plane safely. Now what happens is that so many times you would have walked out of the plane without thanking the pilot, and now all of a sudden you sit there, clap, and celebrate the pilot, and you make the pilot a hero. Now the pilot, And now the pilot, if the pilot let you know that there was these issues and lands safely, then the pilot becomes a hero. Now assume the pilot did not say any of this and just lands the plane. The pilot is not the hero. Now how many such heroic moments have happened? Very few, very few heroic moments have happened. We can think about Captain Sullenberger, we can think about, what's his Sully. But most of the times the pilots use their skills and try to manage a whole lot of stuff, and that becomes invisible to you as passengers, and that becomes invisible to all of us as passengers. So that's where I think testing is like that pilot with an awesome skill and awesome automation, but it's invisible value for the business. It's not a visible value, it's an invisible value. Now unless there is a catastrophic thing that happens, people don't see the value of it. Ooh, I'm saying things. How much value will you put to something invisible? Right. Most of us have brought things home, like a car, you buy a phone or something like that. Do you pay for testing or do you pay for the product? So most customers pay for the product. They don't pay for testing. So since they don't pay for testing, I want to tell you about how much value will you put for something that's invisible? How much value will you put? When you buy a house, somebody comes and says, oh, I'm going to do a structural test. Your house costs $1 million, but I'm going to charge you $500,000 to test the structural thing. Unless there is a high risk, you would not spend that $500K. You would want to keep that to yourself. You might question, you might say, I'll give you a $50K at max to do the structural test. So if people can't price something $500K and they have to price it at $50K, how much can you, who is lower on the ladder, who is lower on the rung, be able to make out of it? No matter what you learn, your ceiling is the $50K. So I think I understand testing today in these ways, that people start off. Most of us have started off in our careers as people who are bug finders, right? And then some of us graduate to finding bugs, to preventing bugs and finding bugs, and very few of us graduate to helping people to test. Now that's it. That's it. There is no more role in testing beyond these three things. Whatever you might be doing, whatever you might be calling it as, these are the only three things possible inside testing. Now, I want you to look at the word inside testing, right? Now, what's the dollar value that you will put for these roles? Now, obviously, that, people think that, oh, they are finding important bugs, and then this is what testers think. They think that they are finding awesome bugs and it's super valuable for the company, and then they think, oh, I'm also preventing bugs and hence my value is more. Oh, I'm helping the whole organization to test and hence my value is very high. But here comes the reality. The reality is that the business values testing so low, and I'm going to help you understand how. So I've seen people make more money finding one bug in a bug bounty program. I saw this news and I was like, somebody made about $100,000, and I was like, wow, there are testers in many organizations who find thousands of bugs, and they make less than 100K, and this person found one big security flaw, and that helped make $100K in just one bug that they find. Now the question is that if you want to spend a whole year to find, would you spend trying to find 1,000 bugs or one bug that gets you 100K? Now I know most of us will say yes, that, but this is also important. I get it. I'm not talking about importance here. I'm just talking about what would we like to do. We would want to spend very little time, earn a lot more, because and that comes in only when there is value. Why would a company pay $100,000 to somebody who found a security flaw? Because because that's the quantum of the value of that bug that was found. right? So who values testing in an organization? Who values testing in an organization? I think the engineering teams and the product teams value testing. The business teams do not value testing. The business teams do not value testing. It's not their problem. It's not like they're ignoring. It's just not their problem statement. It's somebody else's problem statement, and that somebody is engineering and product. Now, how much do they value it? See, we value a whole lot of things in our house, right? I have a water bottle with me. How much do I value it as compared to my Google Pixel 2 XL? And the water bottle is the one that's giving me so much water, keeping me alive, and all of that stuff. My phone doesn't necessarily keep me alive. It just helps me communicate. But I value this much more than that. So how much do people value testing? How much do people who care about testing value testing? So here's my question: does testing feature in the top three priorities of the CTO? Right? And here's my follow-up question. Does testing feature in the top three priorities of a CPO, which is a chief product officer? Does testing feature in the top three priorities of VP engineering? Now, here's an exercise that I did. I went into LinkedIn and I searched for these jobs, and I tried to identify one word called test into all of the need. When they write a JD for these roles, I was trying to sift and see if they mentioned the word test there. Most of that, most of it did not have this. Most of it did not have this. And it's not like something that it was so important that they put it on the top. Even if they put it, it was like, okay, enable teams to test. So essentially what we must understand is that, testing features in the top three priorities of those who test, of those who care to test. Now, those who care to test means that there will be people in the organization at somewhere between a lead manager, director, and an AVP layer who cares about testing. Outside of that, they care about revenues and product and customer onboarding and stuff like that. They assume testing to be handled at lower layers. So none of the CEOs that I know of look at quality dashboards or anything from the testing to make important decisions, but they look at a whole lot of other aspects of it. The CTOs look at the stability, the infrastructure, the velocity at which they're able to throw out, and not necessarily like, have we really done great testing, right? Now, testing doesn't help improve revenue or profits directly. We are like that. Think about the pilot. That's the reason why I gave you the pilot analogy. The pilot is doing so many things there. The pilot might be averting a lot of dangers for us, but if the pilot does not come on the PA and says, hey, this is what has happened, then we just sit back, relax, and the pilot handles everything, and we just get out, because our job is not to worry about how is the plane performing. That's the job of the pilot. And they are super skilled at doing that, but they're not like 1,000 pilots sitting and trying to fly a plane. There's highly skilled two people, highly skilled, right? And testing doesn't help improve revenue or profits directly. It does indirectly. And again, I'm asking you a question: how much will you as a customer value something that's an indirect value, or will you value something that's much more direct value? So okay, am I back?
Yes, Pradeep.
Okay, fantastic. So So the point that I was saying is that no company in the world has said the reason for their failure is poor testing. We like to think about it because we as testers care about testing. We like to think that, hey, if you don't get good testing, then your product won't fly. Not true. There's a lot of shitty products out there.
Sorry to interrupt you, Pradeep. Would you mind resharing your presentation again?
Sure. I'm sorry. These technical stuff keeps happening. Fantastic. So here you go. I'm back. I'm fully back now.
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. So I was saying that no company in the world. Okay, think about these kind of drops that happen, right? Do we stop using the products? So there are a lot of shitty products out there where if there is no alternate, we continue to pay the money when we continue to use it, right? So I'm not necessarily saying testing means quality, but I'm just saying that hey, we as a generation complain, of course, yes, but the organizations don't come out and say this is one of the reasons. The top 10 reasons of the startup failure, testing does not feature in it. So people don't care as much as you care about testing. And the older you get, the reality strikes, right? Okay, so look at this beautiful tweet. This year marks 10 years in testing for me. I'm still explaining the same basic concepts to people over and over again, like a broken record. No testing doesn't give guarantee. Now you've heard of this, right? I mean, people today, even today, people ask like questions where we feel like we have not made progress for 16 years. I mean, I really feel sorry for Michael Bolton sometimes, and I feel great that the kind of persistence this guy has is just phenomenal. He has answered the same question a million times. And there are so many other people who's also doing it. Every once in a while, people compare saying that, this should be, we should do this against this, and never about this with this, right? So I think we get tired of it after some time. And here is another, tweet that I put out as well. It's like saying, hey, the world knows that they are supposed to do unit testing, and that prevents a lot of bugs to come into integration and other phases, but they don't do. And now I made a career. This has both a reality and sarcasm in it, and kind of a pointer to drive people to do unit testing. And that's the way that I've written out. So my understanding is this: that why aren't people getting testing? It's because testing stems from life. Take a moment to just absorb that. Testing stems from life. Humans were doing testing even before they called it testing. Humans have been doing testing for ages, and ever since they were testing the water before they get in, and we all know about it, right? They were testing the tools. They were trying to give feedback to each other. So I think testing stems from life, and to understand testing, one has to understand life, and that's why I think most of the people in this life won't understand it. They will still ask fundamental question. 50 years from now, I can take a bet people will be arguing about manual versus automation. Right? That's just amazing, right? So for me, here is how I actually try to analyze a lot of people's careers. I went to their LinkedIn profiles. I see all of how they've scaled, how they've not scaled, how they've grown, how they've not grown. So I've been doing this analysis for a long time because, hey, I'm in testing space and I want to know how to grow, right? I mean, that's the most important, fundamental aspect of it. How do I grow my value as a tester? It's not just the money aspect of it, right? So here is the way I see it as. So the flight, takes off, that when you get your first job as a tester and you keep going and it slowly keeps, gaining altitude. You have a lot of fun in the first 10 years. So in the first 10 years, if anybody tells you that your plane is going to crash, nobody is going to believe, because they see, look, I'm actually pulling and it's going higher and higher. So because you're getting more pay, you're getting promoted, you're continuously being hunted for jobs. And then you reach a ceiling. Because after that, there is like going back to the example, even if the pilot is super duper skilled, how many pilots have complained about low pay, being overworked, and all of that stuff. I so much relate the pilot to the tester. All of us are going to hit a ceiling. All of us are going to hit a ceiling at some point, and we are going to wonder, oh, why I was growing all this while, what happened right now? Because that day when you hit the ceiling, you would understand that I have peaked out on my value, that people are not willing to pay beyond this, so this is the top dollar. And now you wonder what you had great fun from the takeoff to a certain altitude, and after that the plane becomes very boring, right? I mean, the most boring part of the journey, the most exciting part of the journey is the takeoff and the landing, and then you watching all the people trying to get out faster, even before the seatbelt sign is actually switched off. But the most boring part is that long, super duper journey where you have to really check outside is if the plane is really moving or not moving, right? And that is what is the saturation that a lot of people hit at the mid-career, and that's because they have peaked out on the value, because all of their assumptions about, hey, I can continue to add more value, is busted. Now, then I looked at some of the super successful people, right? Okay, of the successful people, they have been able to manage to escape the gravitational pull. So airplanes can't go beyond a certain altitude. So there's that max ceiling for an airplane, and so is for a lot of people's careers. So here's what I figured out, that there are some super successful people in testing. And what did they do different from everybody else? What did they do different? They Okay, fantastic. So technology keeps working. Don't worry about it. I'm just going to share it again. Okay, am I back? Back. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yep, you're back.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to switch back to the presentation. So, here's a career analysis of somebody who's super successful. Okay, Angie built, the test automation university that has just impacted so many people. It's so beautiful, and a lot more people are able to progress in their career. She has helped accelerate a lot of people, and so has people like Michael and James, and there's Rob Sabrin, and there's so many people like them, right? And here's something that I looked at her what's the LinkedIn profile. Okay, look at it. Most of the learning that people want to do is what is there here in her role as a senior software engineer in test. And she was, of course, learning a lot of things. She was of course doing a great value contribution. But I'm sure that is what she used as a foundation to grow up, to do something which created a great impact, which has created a great impact for the testing space. And here's another person. Okay, Jason. Jason, who is building test.ai, has been able to manage to get Google to fund a testing company. Fantastic, right? And so he, so again, if you look at it, he started off as an SDET. He did learn all of those tools that you people are trying to learn, and most of them. I'm not trying to refer to everybody, but generally what I've seen on the internet is that people are trying to learn tools, right? And then what I thought was that he could have hit a ceiling, but he found his escape velocity, and he is now able to create a great impact through this, because if test.ai is helping people test better, he would have created a massive impact. He and his team, of course, would have created a massive impact. And I feel that he is super successful in the testing space. Here's another example. Okay, Narayan Raman. He was a senior developer in ThoughtWorks, and then he now has built something which kind of challenges the value of Selenium itself, right? And I know a lot of people who are using Sahi are getting benefited quite a lot from it. And he found his escape velocity. Now there are some patterns around it, right? So there are entrepreneurs, there are developer evangelists, there are people who are product owners and VAs and all of that stuff, and they are at the periphery of testing. They are at the periphery of testing. They are not inside testing. Now I'm sure all of these three people, hands-on code, hands-on test, but their majority of work happens at the periphery, and that's how they've been able to create a massive impact. Now, so what I thought is that what can we learn from these super successful people who have been able to contribute to business in a massive way, right? Beyond the ceiling, who is able to achieve that escape velocity. So the first and foremost thing that I found as a common pattern is that you have to strive to be great engineers first. Great engineers. And I want to tell you this, and I also have actually put it out, right? Real engineers solve problems. Fake engineers build their CV into a list of tools. So when I look at these fake engineers' CV, you can, of course, delete the name and add anybody else's name. It has the same set of tools. What are they trying to sell? Are they trying to sell tools, or are they trying to sell the value that they can bring on board? Right? So for me, I think that the real engineers solve problems. So instead of asking question about, if I learn this, can I get this job? You want to say, hey, what problems can we solve? And then let's look at what tools do suit it. But the obsession to tools or obsession to find the next job is driving more people. And these people can never become real good engineers. And that's it. They're going to hit the ceiling, and then I'm going to tell you what happens after that. Now, here's another thing. Unless you care for people, you can't make impact. And if you see common patterns in people who have made impact, and again, I'm going to take names of James and Michael, not necessarily because they're speaking in this conference, because they've impacted my life, they've impacted a lot of lives, and I really wish they impact much more lives. Now, how did they do that? They did that by caring for people. They spend so much time. I'm just amazed. I'm just amazed at like the quantum of time Michael spends to educate us is just so fantastic. Now I know he might be grinning there and saying, but Pradeep still uses the word manual. I understand you, Michael, but I am just blown away by the fact that these people, Angie, Jason, Rahul Verma, there's so many people like them who will give their entire life and time caring for you. They care for you much more than they care for themselves sometimes. So now most of us have been brought up just to care about ourselves. Oh, it's my job, my money, my appraisal, this is gonna kill you, and it's just gonna be my body. That's it. That's true even for others, but I'm just saying that. It was just fancy to say that, right? And then being famous. Now sometimes people get distracted, looking at all of these people and saying, oh, they're famous, so I should also get famous. Now I think that you can be famous just for being famous, but you must have the real stuff. And for that, you need to be a great engineer. You need to care. Big growth happens when you find the escape velocity. No one is going to ever be able to satisfy their financial needs by jumping for another 30%, no matter how many jumps that they do. It's not just going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Nobody has ever done that. Nobody will ever do it, but only those who find the escape velocity. So those who can't find the escape velocity have to land their plane. Sometimes crash. Sometimes the plane will crash because it'll run out of fuel. I'm going to take some fuel. So I would recommend that be in the business of helping people who make money, right? And if your work is not helping people to make money, then you're also not going to make money. You're also not going to grow. And why am I saying money? I mean, like, oh my God, this is a testing conference. We were supposed to know more about how to test in, like, should we find this bug versus this bug and all of that stuff. look, all of that you're doing because you think that is going to add value, right? And if you like realize that, hey, that's not going to add value, then you would ask important questions of, you would ask questions related to impact. I've hardly come across testers who ask impact related question, and not about, and most often it's not about impact, it's about me. What will happen to me, right? And I'm sure one so-called famous person for being famous said the me and me and all of that stuff. Now I'd just like to have come close. I've come close to concluding my talk. So I would say find your escape velocity in testing. And I want to give you why a lot of people don't find this escape velocity. So this is like rockets find the escape velocity, planes don't. So if you want to transition yourself, you might have started out as a plane, but you can build your rocket. And what the rocket does is the rocket keeps shedding its baggage, right? Now, if the baggage is an external factor, it's easy to shed it off. But if the baggage is inside this, it's very difficult to shed that baggage off. So I would recommend you. Oh my God, I used the word that I shouldn't have used. Recommend? No, I suggest. I request you to think about what could be your baggage. The baggage, and here's what it is, right? Why baggage is not obvious, is not visible, it's not easily identifiable, is because that baggage is what created growth for you, right? So you think that, hey, look at my stage two. My stage two got me from here to here. Yeah, but that's gone. That's over. If you still stick on to the stage two thinking, you will be remaining at stage two, or you will fall down, or you will fall into the ocean, right? So essentially, the most important thing is about shedding the baggage. And here I'm talking very metaphorically now. Okay, so what I'm talking about in terms of the metaphorical aspect is that the baggage, if it's you and something about the way you think about testing, something about the way you think about impact, something about the way you think about value that you're adding, and if you have any false ideas around it, that's going to certainly make your plane or rocket fall off. Now, it's lunchtime, at least in India, and I hope it's breakfast time somewhere, and probably dinner or a late dinner somewhere else. Have a nice lunch. There are absolutely other people who are fantastic people in this conference who are going to give you everything else. So I'm really happy to have spend this time for you, and I'm also happy that you spend a lot of time for me. I'm grateful to you. Let's all as testers work towards impact, and I'm sure that's the way to change the way testing is looked upon. Otherwise, 50 years from now, there will be a conference where the same topics will get repeated, and that's the biggest disaster we can create. Okay, thank you very much. I'm done.
Fantastic talk, Pradeep. Very fantastic. And yes, you are pretty consistent. Your passion and love and feelings for testing that I know from decades is pretty consistent. I approve of it. Now we will start with the questions. Brijesh asks, can a tester bring value in a business by adding credibility to his work? What would be your tip for the tester to show value and feel valued?
Okay. So, as I mentioned, ask impact questions. Like, for instance, the best thing to do is to go to the engineering leads and the product leads and say, what's one thing that you want to see customers do that they're not doing today? What's one thing that you think will move the needle for the business, and that's something you've been struggling for but you've not been able to get? These questions can make, and the conversations that you have around it can help you understand, not yet build credibility, understand what is value for people that you're working with. And after which, when you find a bug, instead of reporting that, hey, this thing crashed, you can say, this thing crashed, but don't worry, it's not going to impact. There's something that did not crash, but looks a bit skewed, and that's going to cost us much more money than here. right? So that's something that I would like to think about it. And the other aspect, as I mentioned to you, that learning the foundations, learning the foundations. I would for people who have been able to escape the velocity of the gravitational pull and all of that stuff, they have got their foundation really strong. They don't care what programming language, what kind of tools are going to come in the market. They are the ones who know the foundation, and the foundation remains the same. The foundation of testing has remained. Our understanding of foundation has wavered over a long period of time. So I think once we understand the foundation, and once we build business value, and people are able to say, hey, this really helped us earn $1 million more, I am sure that a lot of things are going to change because of that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Uh, Another question. People who write tools in their CV, Soumya believes that they know the underlying concepts too. But on other hand, people only blabber, actually don't know engineering. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, as I mentioned to you, I think there are very few engineers today. We have all the degree certificates, but the real engineers are very few. So I think the journey. Again, I'm going to take example of a person like Rahul Verma. I see that even today he talks like a student. He does not talk like anything else, and he's continuously learning. And that's one thing that has led him to actually build Arjuna. And I believe that he building Arjuna is he trying to find his escape velocity. So I think that um, uh, we must unlearn the fact that we are being called engineers, and we must focus on learning the core engineering concepts. So, and if we are in software, we should know how software works. And the most big one of the big complaints that I heard from developers in the past is that, hey, look at it, this bug that is reported has zero technical value for me to understand it. And there are plenty of people like that, whose CV is very, very glorified, but in reality they're not engineers. So I would urge all of us to say that, hey, we have not yet got our engineering degree, and we have to learn engineering.
Speaking of real engineers, I remember of watching a video from your brother who is working with Indian Armed Forces, I believe.
Yeah,
Was that
he's trying to build. Yeah, he's trying to build some good stuff.
life saving device? Cool. Shefali asked, but the organization these days are asking for more and more tools and do not value the skills. What tips would you want to give the organizations who prepare their job description?
Okay, so when you go in for a job, okay, please understand that somebody has already crystallized what they want, and they're just expecting you to do that. Now it's your job is to go higher on the value chain of saying, okay, I'm here to run regression test cases and find bugs. That's fine. Okay, but is this really making impact? Is this really solving the problem? And if this is not solving the problem, how can I demonstrate that something else will solve the problem? I think that we need to. So in terms of, here is an example that I give. So I do leadership workshops for testers, and the first thing that I mention in those leadership workshops is there is a word called test lead, or a QA lead, or whatever they want to call us. We learn so much about testing, and we forget to learn anything about leading. Right? So our education is so skewed to what is being asked in a JD and not what we really need. Mm-hmm. We need strong leadership. And as James also mentioned, the managers, the test managers in India are not great, is what he mentioned. And well, I would say this globally, that's true too. That the leadership in testing sucks, and that's the reason why a fresh guy out of college, a fresh girl out of college coming into testing has a lot of challenges to go through. I think if the leadership layer is fixed, we as a community, we as businesses can thrive much better than what we're doing right now.
And in lunch break, I ask you to watch an amazing presentations and advertisements from our sponsors. You will have fun. See you after lunch.
Fantastic. Thank you very
Cheers.
much. Thanks a lot, Lalit. Thanks for hosting.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Bye bye.